What's up guys, we have this rather unusual setup today because Microsoft sends us the Lumia 532 that's out here, and along with that they also send us this cute little boxing ring because they wanted to convey the message that with the Lumia 532 you never compromise. You see, that's the hashtag. They actually sent it long while before I went to MWC 2015, but I haven't been getting time to do a comparison to see whether with the 532 you actually do not have to compromise. So I take this opportunity and the prop that they send us as a surprise with the Lumia 532. So we have the Lumia 532 here. I'm going to compare it loosely with two devices which are almost similarly priced, and both are Android powered. One is the Moto E 2nd generation, and then we have the Redmi 2. Both are very popular. So is the 532. So let's get started. So we'll go one by one, and I'll just keep the Moto E aside and officially bring the 532 inside the ring for a face-off against the Redmi 2. So first thing we'll discuss is about the build quality. The Microsoft Lumia carries the brilliant build quality legacy that the Nokia has been carrying for so long. You have a very extremely tough back cover that kind of engulfs the whole internal housing. Thus, whenever you drop this device, most of the impact the back cover takes, keeping your internal housing totally safe. That also kind of helps the helps keeping the display here safe. However, when you pick up the Redmi 2 here, it's not so tough. It's plastic, but it's slightly thinner plastic, and just by keeping it in hand, you would know that if you drop this device, then you might just break something, because this plastic is not as tough and as closely knit as the 532. However, the slightly different case with the Moto E 2nd generation. This is almost as rugged as the 532 out there. Here, in fact, you cannot remove the back flap, which also means that it's a solid block of piece there. So between the Moto E 2nd generation and the 532, it's a very close call. I would say they're almost at par, but the 532 clearly wins on the Redmi 2, at least in terms of the design and build quality. The next thing we're going to compare is the aspect that many of us budget phone owners actually worry about, is the battery life and whether you can remove the existing battery or not. Now, if you're a premium phone user, a lot of phone comes with a non-removable battery, but they also comes with different technology to give you fast charging or very high battery life. But with these budget phones, the batteries are relatively much smaller, and then also you do not have any fast charging or those kind of generally those kind of a technology. So now what happens here with the Moto E here, you cannot remove the battery. So the battery is not as high as some of the premium devices phones. It's in this mid 2000, which is well good enough for that 4.5-inch screen, but still it's not good enough for heavy usage in case you're traveling, let's say the whole day. So in that case, you need to be carrying a power bank, or you need to wait for the next power outlet to be able to charge your phone. But not with the case of the 532, where you can simply open the back cover and the battery is actually removable. So despite of being a not so high capacity battery as some of the bigger premium phones, you can actually carry two batteries, and whenever this finishes, you can simply go and swipe this one with the other one. And you can also see how easy is to open the back cover, but at the same time, whenever you're closing the back cover, it kind of closes with this prominent thud that tells you that it's not gonna open without your permission. Replacing the Moto is 2nd generation with the Redmi 2. Here again, things are slightly different. There's a close call, because even with the Redmi 2, actually you can open the back flap here, and you can also remove the battery. There you can see. So you can still, like the 532, carry an extra battery, so that whenever this battery finishes, you can use those. But also the Redmi 2 actually supports Xiaomi's own proprietary fast charging. So if you're in case not carrying a second battery, Xiaomi promises that it charges the phone 20% faster than the earlier Redmi 1S. So that's still I think an advantage over the 532. But still, on the long run, you'd see both these phones can be the battery can be removed, and that's a really useful thing for a budget phone owner here. The third thing we're talking about is again one of the most aspired feature that all the phone users, budget or not, but then all do not necessarily get. It's the timely OS update. Now that's one important thing for your phone to function according to the latest lifestyle or latest technology, you can say. However, all the timely OS updates generally are reserved for the higher premium phones, and these budget phones are generally ignored as far as those OS updates are concerned. So the Redmi 1S was powered by MIUI 5, and it still hasn't been upgraded to MIUI 6, which has been long on cards, but no. The Redmi 2 here has MIUI 6, mind you, but then this one still has KitKat. So MIUI 6 is based on top of KitKat. We now have Lollipop 5.1 actually, but most of this phone nowadays comes with 5.0. That's still fine. So Lollipop is a major upgrade, and you're still stuck with a with the previous generation Android, that is 4.x. And when we did not have an update with the Redmi 1S even to MIUI 6, probably, I mean, if we go by that particular data, then the Redmi 2 also has very little chance to be able to upgrade to Lollipop, not with the Microsoft 532 here, because now it's all Microsoft. There is no Nokia here. So Microsoft makes the hardware, Microsoft makes the software, Windows Phone. And what that means is that Microsoft can give you, without anyone's disturbance or without anyone's hindrance, the latest update on their latest devices in a timely manner. And Microsoft actually just promised it during the launches of these Lumia devices. Whenever these devices became Microsoft devices, they told that you would get timely update on almost all the Lumia devices, whoever would support the new OS. And they actually promised Windows 10 in most of these Lumia devices, budget or not. But that same cannot be promised for these manufacturers or these devices. They always are tight-lipped on whether the device would get the update at all. Now coming to the Motorola Moto E, where things are slightly different than in the case of the Redmi 2. The Moto E comes with Lollipop, and Motorola generally always keeps the stock Android there, which meaning then it's much easier for Motorola to update your phone to the latest version, because they do not have to make that custom UI on top. And those are the main problems these these manufacturers face, because it's not the in the intention to not give you the latest update, but then they have to make their custom UI on top of the stock Android, and which at times becomes difficult, or which at times actually delays the whole process. So you have the updated OS here, you will have the updated OS here whenever that comes, whenever Windows 10 comes, hopefully. So here it's mostly the case of the timeline. Now Android is not owned by Motorola, but still it promises timely update. It gets delayed at times, but here maybe Microsoft won't delay the update process of the Windows 10. We'll have to just wait and see. But Microsoft has the data and has the ownership on both the hardware and software to let us believe that it does not have to wait for anyone else to give us the OS update on time. The next question some of these non-geeky budget phone owners ask me is that whether my OS or whether my user interface will lag, whether I'll be able to work on my phone seamlessly, on time and smoothly or not. Now let's compare that. So we have first the 532 and the Moto E second generation here. This one's powered by Windows Phone, which is, mind you, a proprietary OS, so it's not an open OS. You cannot go and build something by customizing Windows 4 OS and then use it on your own devices. Everything Microsoft controls, just like the iOS being controlled by Apple, but not in the case of Android. The Android, most of the parts are open, so that manufacturers like Xiaomi, for example, build their own custom ROMs called MIUI on top of that Android, and then give you a kind of slightly different experience than what the stock Android looks like on, for example, on this Moto E 2nd generation. Now with the custom skin also comes some advantages, some difficulties. The advantages mainly comes in the form of the features. You get some new features, you get some extra features that you otherwise probably would not have got with the stock Android. But the more things you add, that much more memory goes in making those extra features work. Which meaning that if you have stock Android, and if you have a skin on top of a stock Android on two identically powered device, you would see the one with the stock with the custom skin on top of the stock Android performing slowly than the stock Android. So more things you add, more memory it takes, more space it takes, and so on and so forth. But in the case of Windows Phone OS here, Microsoft has control over both the hardware and the software, just like Apple, for example. So before releasing the device, they can absolutely make sure that both their software and their hardware function according to what each other's strengths, and that actually makes the Windows Phone devices, almost all the Windows Phone devices, less laggy than the equivalent Android devices. So you relatively have, although you have a slower or low powered chipset or maybe less memory on a Windows Lumia devices than on some of the Android devices like this or someone else, but you would more often than not see the user interface performs consistently. Number one, it also would be more fluidic and very smooth and seamless, generally more seamless than some of the devices like the Redmi 2, for example. It has a great ROM. MIUI 6 is one of the best ROMs in the world right now. You have lots of features that you would not get with the 532, the Task Killer, for example, and then there are a lot of other tools. But with this also comes a fair amount of lag when you multitask heavily on these devices. The Moto E falls somewhere in between. This is powered by Google stock Android, so you have a Lollipop. So Motorola does not have any skin on top of this. This one is fairly fast, but still the hardware is made by someone else and the software is made by someone else. We can just hope, it's not only about this Moto E, but we can just hope that the hardware manufacturers actually took so much time to study the software so that they could make the hardware good enough for the software, and vice versa. Basically they could actually combine both the software and the hardware as seamlessly as some of these proprietary OS owners do, like the Microsoft and Apple. Last but not least, a layman of the budget phone users again ask me is that, do I get the value for my money? Because see, I probably wanted this phone as my secondary phone to my more expensive one, or probably I do not have the money, or probably I just simply do not want to spend unnecessarily on those features, premium features, than the more expensive devices give, because I don't need them. So I just have this much money. What ROI do I get? Okay, let's look at it. With a Windows device, you get a very durable device. You hopefully get very timely update, because we don't see why you would not, because Microsoft now owns both the hardware and the software. Plus you also have a very seamless operating system. Basically, if you're the one which is not too geeky, who does not want to go down to the bones of everything, who does not want to fiddle and customize every aspect of your device, because there is not as much customization available on the Windows phone as there are on an Android phone, then this device would be perfect for you, because this is less likely to give you problems than an Android device, because there are less thing you can customize, or less thing you own, less thing you can destroy on this device. This is very seamless, very smooth. So this is the perfect device for everyday usage with the power it gives. An Android device again is mainly good for those people who would like to play with the devices for a long time. You want to customize your device, you want lots of free apps and experiment those apps on your devices and everything. But with those also come the risk of lagging your devices, viruses, and lots of other threats that you have to manage on your own. So you have to take that aspect into mind. So both have their pros, both have their cons. One biggest pros or the biggest advantage the Android ecosystem has is the collection of apps. The sheer number of collection of apps is much larger than the one on the Windows Phone App Store or the Windows Phone Store. But it's catching up, but it's never gonna be enough or never gonna be as close as the Android device owners would have. So the choices you have on the Android, lots of choices, lots of customization choices, lots of app choices. How you go with that, how you deal with that is at your own risk. But if you do not want those headache, you want a phone maybe for your business, you do not have time to fiddle around with your phone, you want your phone to perform perfectly without any lag, does not skip those OS updates and everything, and has, by the way, less virus threats than some of these other Android phones, then the 532 is perfect. Otherwise, you can always go for an Android device, lots of choices. Hopefully we could help you in making a decision between the OSs, because this is actually a major decision. A lot of people tend to go towards what's the neighbor or their friend buy, but then it's important that you know some of these very small little things about a budget device that can help you make a decision. And if you think that we have helped you in some way in making a decision between these devices, then please like and share this video so that others could benefit from it. Thank you.